In the quiet town of Stratford-upon-Avon, not far from the birthplace of William Shakespeare, lived two families who had once been inseparable friends, the Adamis and the Okafors. They shared meals, laughter, and holidays. But years ago, a business disagreement turned into bitterness. Pride hardened their hearts, and the friendship collapsed into a cold, silent war. Their children, Daniel Adimi and Amara Okafor, grew up in the shadow of that feud. Ironically, Daniel and Amara were nothing like their parents. They loved deeply, but first, they loved themselves. Daniel believed in building his dreams before depending on anyone else. Amara valued her independence and refused to shrink herself for love. They met at university in Birmingham, drawn together not by rebellion, but by mutual respect. They didn't fall in love instantly. It grew slowly through shared coffee breaks, long conversations about purpose, and late-night talks about their ambitions. They admired each other's strengths. Loving each other never meant losing themselves. When their parents discovered the relationship, old wounds reopened. "You will not marry into that family," Daniel's father declared. Amara's mother was no different. "After everything they did to us, never. Neither family would even sit in the same room." The past became louder than the present. But Daniel and Amara refused to let hatred define their future. "We are not responsible for their history," Amara said one evening as they sat by the River Avon. "We are responsible for our own." Daniel nodded. "And I choose you, not against them but for us." Instead of fighting their parents with anger, they chose patience. They continued to visit home. They spoke respectfully. They didn't hide their love, but they didn't insult their families either. They built their careers. They showed stability. They showed maturity. Years passed. The parents expected the relationship to crumble under pressure. It didn't. When Daniel officially proposed, he did it properly. He went to Amara's father first, not to beg but to show honor. "I love your daughter," he said calmly, "and I promise I will protect her happiness." Something in his voice softened the older man's heart. Pride had kept him angry, but time had made him tired of it. On the wedding day, tension still lingered. The two families sat on opposite sides of the hall, barely looking at one another. But when Amara walked down the aisle, glowing with confidence and joy, and Daniel stood waiting with steady eyes full of love, something shifted. This wasn't about old grudges anymore. It was about two people who had chosen love without losing themselves. During the reception, Amara did something unexpected. She took the microphone. "Our parents once loved each other as friends," she said gently, "and today we hope our marriage can remind them of that love." There was silence. Then, slowly, Daniel's father stood. After a long hesitation, Amara's mother rose to... They didn't hug, but they nodded. And sometimes peace begins with something that small. Daniel and Amara's marriage wasn't just the union of two hearts. It was the bridge between two broken families. Not perfect, not immediate, but real. Because love that respects itself does not beg. It stands firm, and eventually, even the loudest feud grows quiet in its presence.